Welcome to Alatherra. Welcome to a world of magic. Here, good and evil, law and chaos take shape and form. As the world turns, the seasons change, and immortal and mortal alike seek to exert their will upon the world. Travel with me across the northern continent and across the vast Storm Range Mountains into the Northern Reaches. Here live a hardier folk. Those who have carved a life out of the storms and snow. A people who readily stand against any threat that may come from the tundras of the far north and the white wastes beyond. It is here that the Storm Kings have ruled for, well, as long as anyone can remember. Rulers of might and magic, rulers of storm and steel. But we do not find ourselves in the seat of Storm's Fall today. Today, we find ourselves in the city of Melt, mere weeks before spring, the Eve of First Thaw. Melt is aptly named, for the snows seem to refuse to stick here. Hot springs dot the landscape nearby. Sometime in the recent past, one entrepreneuring young man, Nicholas Argent, decided to fence in some of the fancier hot springs and build an inn and spa and baths. He named this the Steam and Snowflake. And from around this business grew the town of Melt. First came a temple, and then a second inn, and then a smith, and then a baker, and then a tanner. And as all cities go, it grew into a small but quaint town of many unique people. And as we pan over the town of Melt, we come to the Mead Tavern, in which sits a Goliath at the bar with a bit of coin in their pocket. Having just escorted a caravan of performers, a troupe, if you will, across the Northern Reaches to the city of Melt. Here, we find Ilikhal. Ilikhal, you find yourself in Melt, having traveled, protecting this caravan. The performers, the troupe, needed some extra muscle. There have been trouble with bandits recently upon the King's Road. There have been troubles with beasts and monsters throughout the Reaches. And you, being an entrepreneurial, spirited barbarian, have hired yourself as a sellsword, as a protector, as a guard. Dart, the patriarch, has hired you on. You find that you have a little bit of extra coin in your pocket today. As you sit in the Mead, a quaint, rustic tavern, what do you want to do?
Just drink, just relax.
Of course, yes. As all guards do after a very long journey from the more major city of Rory's Crossing. You order what do you order? Do you order an ale? Do you order a mead? Do you order a fancy glass of wine?
I think I order a mead.
Order a mead. The barkeep, Kosh, walks over to a large barrel, not a barrel, a keg tap in, and an enormous glass, enormous for a human, maybe just appropriate size glass for you and your quite large Goliath hands, pours from the tap this beautifully golden mead, just a little bit of foam. Across the cask, the keg, whatever, you see a giant emblazoned 10th M. He comes over and he sets it down. He says, "A specialty of melt. First one is on the house."
I nod at him in thanks.
You take a sip, or you. I
Oh,
assume
yeah.
you drink the mead. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
As you taste the mead, it is crisp. It is refreshing. It is both. It makes you feel warm and fuzzy and cool and refreshed at the same time. The aspects of the spices and the honey and the fermentation. It's equally like having like that perfect drink on a summer's day mixed with that warm like tea or hot cocoa in the dead of winter. Somehow this meat is satisfying both of those urges at the same time. As you're taking that drink, you hear the commotion of the troop, of the caravan outside, setting up for their first performance of the day. They're you hear Dart exclaiming to the people, "People of Melt! Myself and my family welcome you to our performance. We will be here throughout the next few days, and we invite you to come and see the amazing troupe, the performers' paradigm. And we invite you to come and watch as we perform the Two Queens this evening, no, tomorrow evening at sundown. For now, be entertained as my dearest friend Sean has a few jokes to tell." And you hear Sean takes the stage, and Sean has this wonderful warm-up comedy routine that you've heard a couple times since taking up with the caravan, with the troop. And by wonderful, I mean it's okay. Sean, it's kind of prop based, and that's that's some people's thing, but you're like, Sean, you really could just be funnier. And Sean begins his comedy routine, and there a few of the people of Melt have gathered in the square and are watching and are intrigued. Sean, not exactly a bard by trade. He's a lot better juggler than a joke teller, honestly. But you hear a few laughs here and there. But he has one good joke. He's one good joke that never fails. And you're waiting for it. You're waiting. It's just like, it's just the right joke. It seems to be no matter where you go, everyone has a good laugh with this one. As he begins into it, you start to tune out. You're just enjoying your mead. And the crowd goes wild for it. Yeah! Oh my god! Claps, cheers. And these claps and cheers, a stranger walks into town. A stranger lost, frankly. A stranger who has no idea where he is or how he got here, honestly. A stranger who's been wandering the roads for some time. And this is the first time he's walked into a town to be completely greeted with extreme laughter. Alfonz, you walk into the square, and you see a giant crowd gathered around a performer on a stage, a small stage that they have set up. And they seem like almost like rolling with laughter at this joke. And this is unusual. And you, of course, have seen performances in your day. But this was the last thing you expected up this quiet road, past some farmsteads into a town. You did not expect to find a crowd raucously laughing. I mean, insanely laughing, like almost like staged laughter. But they're having the best time, and this is what you've walked into in the city of Melt, Alfonz. You've come up from the southern road. You've passed by a few homes, a stable, some farms before you even got to town. On your right is the Mead. It's a tavern. Across the street is the temple. In the center of the square, I should say, across the square is a small temple or shrine. And in the center of the square is this troops caravan of a half dozen or so wagon, some fancifully painted, one that appears to be much more Spartan, but like very technical looking. It's a lot larger than the others. It's a little unusual. And this crowd is watching this. As you come to town, you're tired. You have walked quite a ways. You're hungry. You've got a few bits of coin, but not a ton. You've managed to scare up some food along the journey. You've managed to find a rabbit here or there, unwitting. You've slept in places under the trees, in clearings. You managed last night to sleep somewhere it was somewhat comfortable, but like as you rolled over, there was like a rock in the small of your back. You haven't had a bed or a bath for that matter in a hot minute. As you walk into the center of this town, what strikes your fancy the most?
On Alfonz's travels, he did hear much about Nicholas Argent, and I think the first thing he wants to do is check out the Steam and Snowflake. Absolutely. Long road, long travel, needs to rest up.
So as you walk through town, there are a few signs of the crossroads. The Steam and Snowflake this way. It is just to the west on the west side of town. It's uphill a little bit, and you make the turn out of the town square, skirting around the commotion of some extent. You walk up the road, and it's like a nicely cobbled road. It's like a very nice like cobbled driveway almost. There are like groomed trees and bushes to either side, and just up the hill a little ways you can see this 3-story-ish building, painted a deep but crisp blue. Looks like a fresh coat of paint is put on at least yearly. And just out front is a sign that says the Steam and Snowflake. As you approach, you can hear some chatter and some talk. It seems to be coming from behind the building. You walk up to the front door, you open it, and inside you find a welcome room. It's not like a tavern with a common room exactly. It is more like there's a reception area, and there's an individual behind the counter, and they say, "Oh, hello. Good afternoon. How can I help you today? My name is Molly."
Good afternoon, Molly. My name is Alfonz. I am a wizard, but you don't need to know that much detail. I've come to the Steam and Snowflake after much fanfare. I must admit, not a lot of gold in my purse, but I was hoping you could spare a room, perhaps? Maybe a nice deep soak in one of your very, very fancy hot springs.
Molly says, she looks you up and down, and she She says, "You look very road weary." If you don't mind me saying, that is. Unfortunately, we're all booked up for the festivals of First Thaw. I know for a fact the Meat and Mead still has a few rooms open, and unfortunately, we are having to turn away business. But we can offer a bath. 1 hour will run you 5 copper pieces.
Sold, Molly. Thank you so much. And if there happens to be any vacancy during my bath, I'm sure it will be completely coincidental. I will think nothing of it. Here's an extra copper piece for your troubles. This is a very expensive currency as far as I'm aware.
The copper pieces? Yeah. She takes them and she looks up in there. She takes them and she looks them over and she's like, "These are weird copper pieces." Like she takes them eagerly, but she's like, this is foreign currency, but it's still good. Like she kind of like she hefts it a little bit. She's like, "Oh, it's fine. He's stinky. He needs the bath anyway." She takes you to a split, and there's like a men and a women's side, and she says, down this way you will find a set of robes that you can change into while you take your bath. The baths they are common for both. They're common baths for men, common baths for women. There are private baths available, but the common is what you essentially paid for. Is kind of like she's trying not to like be like awkward about it, but you follow it down, and it's like a locker room to some extent. Like you've been in a locker room or a large bathroom. It is warm. It's a little steamy. It's odd, you notice, because it was not warm outside because it's still winter. But it was warmer than what you've been used to throughout your travels recently. But this building is very warm. It is so comfortable. It's humid, but you haven't seen a fire burning. And as you find the bathrobes, and they're kind of sorted by like height and weight to some extent. You find one that kind of fits. You change out of your road weary clothes for a moment at least. And there are hangers and things for that, like kind of like lockers. You walk out into the bath area, and it is this anime hot spring, pretty much. Like it is rocky, and there's this nice spring, and there are baskets in like places where easily accessible but not going to fall in the water, and it looks like there's soap. There are towels ready to go. There's even some it's this like perfumed oil to some extent, and you notice it's next to the soap. It's in these like containers that you can kind of like it's just like large enough to where you can dip like a couple fingers in the container, and it's like you could kind of like dip dab, and it's like rose scented or other floral scents. So that way it's like a moderate deodorant to some extent. But you approach, and this hot spring it looks like it was like carved almost. It is completely natural, but it is this like volcanic-y rock, and the spring seems to fill it, and it looks like you could even like walk out into the spring enough to be like up to your neck in just water, and it's steamy, and like you walk out and you take like a big like whiff of it, and it's like your sinuses open, and like it feels like you can breathe again, and it feels like just being out here, like the dirt is coming off of you. And you dip your toe in the water, and it is nice. It's like hot tub. It's just like the perfect temperature for a bath. As you disrobe and place your little robe in a place just outside of the water's reach, there are benches. You step down into the water, and you can feel just the tension of life of everything you've gone through up until this point just kind of melt away. And you can lean back and you feel that the minerals in the water of the hot spring make it a little more dense, and you can feel yourself start to float just a little bit. And it's like you don't even have to bear the weight of your own body. And you can see why these hot springs have been talked about across everywhere you traveled. Why the story of Nicholas Argent has made it through the Northern Reaches. Because when this man came here, he saw an opportunity and he took it. And you wish you had gotten here first. But you start to feel clean. You wash the sweat and dirt and road weariness, just even like everything. You get it out of your hair. Your hair feels soft again. You wash your face, and all the oils and everything, the dirt and the grime of just travel melt off. It's like when you go on a road trip and you get to the hotel or you get home and you're like, man, I just need a shower. I just need to take a shower and feel like a person again. You feel like a person again. And your bath goes wonderfully. You finish bathing. You exit the hot spring. You put on your clothes. What you realize as you have been bathing, someone has come by and they haven't washed your clothes, but your clothes are freshened to some extent. It's not like a full like cycle at a laundromat, but it's like the dirt, and it's like even they just aired them out even. But you put your clothes back on and it doesn't feel like putting on dirty clothes. It feels like putting on cleaner clothes than what you have been wearing.
All right, I immediately rifle through my belongings and make sure my spell book is still there.
Everything is still there, exactly as you left it. There's even a spot on your robes that was torn. You caught a thorn on a bush and it tore your robe slightly, and it looks like someone put like 4 stitches in it real quick. That was just part of the package. You exit to the lobby, and Molly's there. She's got like a ledger book, and she appears to be doing some like accounting level. Like it's like this is the 5th day of the week, and we've done this many men's baths, this many women's baths, and this is how many bars of soap there were. We need to take care of these robes. Like you can kind of see there's a bunch of numbers and spreadsheety things, and it's a very large book, probably like chest size, like a human chest, not like a treasure chest if it was closed, but it's folded doubly so open, so it's probably wider than, it's like almost like you have to have like almost a lectern to keep it on, but it's on the front reception desk, and she just appears to be making notes in it. And as you walk out into the lobby, she goes, "Oh, do you feel better?"
Worth every penny. Thank you so much.
We've been told. And she says, "Unfortunately, no rooms have opened up since your bath, and I'm terribly sorry. But if you speak with Kosh, the Mead and Mead, they're not the nicest rooms, of course, but they do have a bed, and they are warm, and they come with breakfast, from what I hear. And Kosh is very nice. You can find him in the square. It's the big building with a ham hock and a bottle hanging from the sign."
Well, again, Molly, thank you so much for your time. I will do that. Is there any chance I can meet this Nicholas Argent at some point? Or is he... I do imagine... And hear me out. I do understand that he is a very busy man. However, it has come to my attention that he is full of some very useful information that, as you might have picked up from my robes, maybe my accent, maybe my look. I'm not from here. I'm just trying to figure out as much. And let me stop you again. I understand that he's a businessman. I understand. I'm sorry. I understand that he is a very busy individual. But if there's any room in that ledger of yours where I'm sure that you are keeping track of his day-to-day, if there's any room in his schedule whatsoever, if you could let him know that Alfonz is staying at the Meat and Mead tonight and he would love to make his acquaintance, please do pass along that note. Thank you so much for your time. And he slides another copper piece to Molly for being such a good sport.
Yeah. Okay. She takes it. She's, do you like leave like immediately?
Yeah, he's out the door. He's gone.
She's, is she my Nicholas Sargent? Great grandpa.
Uh-oh.
And she's confused. The copper piece goes into a pocket. She's, do you want to meet him? Also, he can't. She's just this. She's so confused, and she's a smart girl. She is so confused. She goes, I'll tell Ma. As you leave, you can continue down to the square. That is where everything is located. But while you were taking your bath, another stranger has come into town. This stranger a lot more quietly. As the comedy show has ended, a minor performance has begun. It's slightly musical, slightly interpretive dance, slightly acrobatics. The matriarch and the patriarch of the troupe are both expert musicians. And another member of the troupe appears to be, she is petite. She does this mixture of daring acrobatic performances where they're like climbing the like pegs and like the contortion, but it's also mixed with some like interpretive dance slash like dance performance, like almost there's like a little bit of pole dancing kind of going on at the same time. It is very impressive. It is a big crowd pleaser. This has been going on. You hear like people, oh, wow, ooh, from the crowd. Some mothers cover their children's eyes only to have them like, man, no, like it's questionable, but it's not like bad questionable. And another stranger comes into town quietly. This stranger, in a large cloak with hood up, a face covering across the lower half of the face, moves into town almost without a sound. Not that they need to. Everyone in town appears to be very busy and very interested. Pilot, you have walked into this town. You've come a long way. You just have this feeling that you need to travel south for now. And you've traveled south, and you have found some towns, and you have found some peoples, and you've encountered trouble and escaped trouble. You found that people do not react to your features quite like you expect them to. They're distrusting. They are afraid to some extent. It seems that no one has met anyone quite like you. And in that experience, you've decided to disguise yourself to some extent. You wear a pair of leather gloves to cover your jointed hands. You wear a face covering to show your lack of lips and nose. You keep your head covered to disguise the fact that you don't have hair. As, in fact, you are a Warforged. You are a pilot. That is what you know of yourself. You are a pilot, and pilots were built for a reason. And you know, pilots, there's an S, there's a plural. Why haven't these people, why does no one recognize? What is going on? Why is the world so different than you think it should be? Than you remember? Do you remember? How did you get here? South. You have to go further south. You're too far north. Maybe here there will be some answers. And as you approach from the north, you come into town. You're not hardly even traveling by road. You are just traveling. You come to town and there is commotion. What would you like to do, Pilot?
May I attempt to map out the city real quick?
Absolutely. You take, as you approach from the forest to the north, you make note of major roadways as you just kind of blend in. You don't make yourself, you don't make your presence a deal. Like, you are just your background character. You're fine. You're just walking around. You're Sam from the farm. Oh yeah, I saw somebody walk down the road, but they weren't important. You get a general layout of the place. You notice the major landmarks. You notice the square with the temple and the tavern. You notice up the hill there is what appears to be maybe a bathhouse. You notice the baker and the smith and the herbalist. You notice the tanner. You notice the place labeled the Ranger's Rest. It appears to be a hall of some sort. You notice the larger buildings in town. You notice the larger homes. You notice the smaller homes. You notice as you make a circle of the town, essentially, you notice the sign saying 10th Muse Meadery. A little bit that way. Just a walk away, if you will. And you get a general idea of the entire map of the town.
For the temple of the city, who is it devoted to?
You see on the front of the temple, it appears to be a gear. Arathis, the goddess of civilization and order. She's also the goddess of cities, large cities specifically. Counterpart.
Sorry.
Yep, continue. Counterpart to Melora, goddess of nature and wilderness and stuff.
Is the temple doors locked?
No, in fact, they're open.
How many people are inside at the moment?
It does not. You do not see anyone in the immediate entrance of the temple. Most people appear to be in the center of the square, watching this very intriguing performance. No one immediately appears to be in the temple. It is a nice day. That is perhaps why the doors are open. Let a little breeze in.
I want to go inside the temple.
Okay. You enter the temple, and it is... Temple might be too big of a word. Shrine, too small of a word. Perhaps something a little in between. Maybe a dozen pews, 6 on either side. A small altar at the front, where perhaps someone could give a sermon from. The windows are like down the side. They let in a lot of light. There is a door as you enter into the entrance. Above you, there's like a small steeple, which apparently you could see a bell from the outside. And in the back of the temple, there is a door exiting on your right hand side, which would be to the end and then on the right. and that appears to just go back outside. It's not poor, but it's definitely not rich. It's kind of this like middle ground. It looks like a place of rest, a place of gathering, a place of preaching. There's probably a priest somewhere that would preach the speakings of Arathis and civilization and how lucky we are to fight against the wilderness that is trying to overtake the world.
I want to stand by a darker corner and do the best little prayer I can inside my head. Just
Okay.
to pray that I find my way to where I
Okay.
need to be.
Yeah, you step to the side and you bow your head and you think, there's the emotions you feel. You feel so disjointed. You feel so separate. You feel alone. So alone. Like if you were like an orphan who once belonged to an enormous family. You feel like yourself is so much smaller than it is. But you bow your head and you think, you say, I just want to find my way. I want to understand. I need to know what's going on. And it's this mix of thought and prayer and emotion, true emotion, of fear and hopelessness and hope even. And you just, there's so much knowledge that there's more than what you're comprehending. And you take that moment and you put all of that and you just kind of speak it into being a little bit, and you feel better. You feel like a weight has come off your chest a little bit. It's like you have talked yourself through, and you know you have to find out why you feel this way. You have to find out why you are alone as far as you understand, because that isn't the way it's supposed to be. That's not the way it was. You still you try to think back, and you close your eyes. You think and you remember, maybe there was more. There were others. Something happened. What happened? You almost like shout at yourself internally. What happened? But that answer doesn't quite come. But that answer needs to be found, and you can find it. You just need to find something. What is it? But you do feel a little better. As you were doing this, someone does walk in through the back entrance, or the back exit, if you will, and go, "Oh, excuse me, can I help you?"
I look at the person. Are they a priest?
They
Of
appear
some sort?
they appear to be some sort of religious person. They're wearing like a set of like brownish robes. There's like a small holy symbol. They're middle aged. They're a little husky. They're not fat, but middle aged, kind face. Looks like smile lines and like smile lines on the eyes. And they begin to approach. Okay, excuse me. Hello. Good evening. Can I help you?
Far away are they?
They are on the opposite side. So they just came in through the back entrance, and they're gonna try to approach. It's probably about 60 feet down the
Am
hallway.
I from the door?
You are probably 10 feet from the door. You're just inside to the right.
I stiffen up a little bit and I say, "Forgive me. Forgive me. I was just doing a little prayer."
And they smile and they go, "Well, you're in the right place. No forgiveness needed, friend. I haven't seen you before. Are you a traveler?" And they're still approaching, but they can tell you tensed, like you were surprised that a person was here, and they're like aware of that, and they're trying to give you like enough space, but they're trying to get to like within like actual conversation range. Like it would be odd to shout to one another across a church, so they're just kind of approaching. What can I do anything for you? Can I offer you any sort of assistance as one of my order might?
Thank you, but I do believe I have what I need.
And they stop probably about 15 feet from you. They go, "I understand. Well, if you do need anything, I will be here. My name is Malthus, and I have taken these holy orders, and this is my post for the time being. Should you need anything, feel free to call. My home is just there." He points back to the door he came in, and it's just there. As you walked around the town, you noticed that there was a small building, just like an outbuilding, right there. There is a graveyard in back of the church, so you think maybe it must be that the holy person, the priest or priestess who takes orders and is assigned to this church or chooses to live here, they get like a warm-ish, like a small hut or house, and they must tend like the graveyard, and all of those things kind of come with it. Because my home is right here. My door, while not always physically open, if you ever need to talk, it is my job. And he kind of goes to the front of the church, and he starts like organizing some papers and things, and there's like a big like holy book with like a big gear on it, and he starts to kind of like collect those. It looks like he was coming in to like get those in the first place when he noticed that you were in the back.
Thank you,
And
Malthus.
he goes, "You're welcome." And he says, "Feel free to stay as long as you like as well. There's nothing worth stealing here, so we never have to worry about that." And like he says that with like there's like a weird sarcastic air to it. Like he's not originally from here. He's from somewhere where their temples have like stuff in them, like nice statues or golden candelabras or something. I don't know, but he seems like he's a little more like posh, based on like the like little bit of whatever that came with that. With that, we're going to pan back to Ilikhal. You have been enjoying your meat and mead. The bartender Kosh asks if you would like dinner. Actually, he doesn't. He's like busy making dinner. His wife, Krista, who introduced herself to you, asked if you would like dinner, if you would like a room, what service can be performed for you. Krista is like a small Caucasian female. She has long black hair, very oval face, kind of large eyes for her face, green eyes, and she just looks like almost a little childlike. Like you could tell like she's an adult woman, but she's got like that air about her. She still has like that childlike like wonder of the world, and she is like, compared to you, she's probably like just above belly button level. She's kind of a smaller lady, and she is astounded by you. You are tall, you are beefy. She is like big person. Whoa. Even like on human standards, she's used to dealing with like large men like that come to the tavern, but you are big.
I'm 7'3".
She's like, whoa. But yeah, she asks, "Is there anything I can I? God, my, is there anything I can do? Would you like dinner, a room, something? What is your name?"
Dinner in a room would be lovely, thank you. My name is Ilikhal.
Ilikhal. Well, we don't get many Goliaths here often. I'm afraid our beds might be a little cramped, but it's still a bed.
I'm quite used to it, don't worry.
She says, for dinner, a room for the night, and breakfast included, 4 copper pieces.
Sounds like a deal.
Okay, so you give her 4 copper pieces. She says, for dinner we have mutton and potato soup. Mutton not in the potato soup, of course. That would be silly. It's potato soup with a serving of mutton. And she goes, "Can I get you a refill also?"
Yes, please. This mead is amazing.
And she takes she goes, "Oh, it's from 10th Muse. You should visit the meadery. They apparently need help. There's a posting on the job board. It is Jenny and Willow. They're so sweet. They come in and they bring the casks and they come into town. They're lovely angels. Their son is a little strange, but you know, children." And she says, like, children, like wantingly, like she's approaching that age at which she wants to become like she wants to go from like womanly to matronly. Perhaps maybe they're trying, and like she like puts her hand on her belly, and like you can tell like there's like a little prayer or something that happens. But she takes the mug that is pretty big for human size, looks enormous in her hand. And she goes over the tap and she fills it up and she brings it back to you, and it's like like she bonk, and she's, "Enjoy. I'm gonna go. I'll let Coach know of your order." And she like scurries. That is a good way to describe her. Just like she's mouse-like in a way. She has this energy about her, this like almost nervous energy, but it seems like in your interacting with them that like they're a very happy couple, and she's just one of those people that like she's got like a little more energy than her body can handle at any point in time. And she like scurries back into the back, and you hear her pass along the news, and she's like, if you listen closely, like she sounds like really excited. She's like, "This big arms are." And Kosh like chuckles and he's like, "Yes, that is how it is." Within 10-15 minutes, Kosh does bring out a serving of mutton and potato soup and half a loaf, or like the end of a loaf of bread. Looks like the bread was baked this morning, so it's not like fresh out of the oven, but it is good. You eat it. It is very filling. It's quite tasty. A little bit of bacon in that potato soup, just a little bit, maybe even just like bacon grease. But you got good taste buds. You taste it, and it's so much better than what Grana Kendra, the cook and costume care, and they call her Gran or Grana, with the troop has made over the past like 2.5 weeks you've been with them. She's their cook, but like it's just because she's the best they got. Like it wasn't great, but it was a meal, and you've had meals, but this is like, you can tell Kosh and Krista like take a lot of pride in this place, and this is an actual meal. This is service. This isn't sustenance. This is service. So you feel good. Excuse me. What you notice is twilight is approaching. It is that like orange sunsetty color that you notice in the window. And that is about the time that Alfonz, you reach the square. One more time. You notice sun is approaching the horizon, and we're getting that sunset color. Beautiful, beautiful day. A few clouds in the sky, and they're picking up the pinks and the oranges and the yellows of the sunset. The performance is slowly changing away from this acrobat. You see, like the finale is what you see as you walk in, and it's this lithe young woman who is apparently 15 feet in the air on these like pegs that have stacked into one another, and she's doing a handstand, and then she takes it to one arm, and it's wobbling and it's wobbling and it's wobbling, and it breaks, and she falls, and she does a full front flip and lands right in the arms of this burly man who just seemed to step out of nowhere. And she flourishes, and he flourishes with the other arm, and the crowd goes absolutely nuts for it. And there's an announcement made. You hear a patriarchal, a older gentleman, slightly middle-aged, announce that, ladies and gentlemen, we will be taking a break to enjoy our dinner. Please stop by this evening. Feel free to tip. Please open your pockets, open your hearts. We will be enjoying our dinner momentarily. Be sure to stop by tomorrow evening as we perform the famous performance, the one, the only, written by the amazing D'Artagnan, as we perform the Two Queens. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. That will be it for this evening. We will see you all in the morning. Happy Thaw. And the crowd like, yeah, woo, woohoo, great job, proud of you. Somebody was like, not good. Like somebody is a little disgruntled about it for some reason. And the crowd starts to disperse a little bit. And that is what you walk into in the square. You see just to your right across the square, you see the Mead Tavern. It is exactly as Molly described it. It is this 3-story building, a little bit of smoke coming out of some of the chimneys up top, tons of windows up the front, the side facing the square, and there is in fact a sign with like a ham hock and a bottle is like the two things, and you see written in, it's metallic, it says meat, and on the bottom it says Mead, and like in between the ham hock and the bottle holding them together is an ampersand. What would you like to do?
I acknowledge the sign, clap a little bit towards the performance. He was mere seconds away from casting Featherfall. He was a little concerned. His heart did race a little bit, but he enters the Mead.
Perfect. You approach the Mead. As you approach, there's a little bit of, you hear a little bit of crowd noise. Other members of the crowd that have dispersed post the show have gone into the tavern. It appears to be some of the townspeople, perhaps some people visiting for the festival of First Thaw. Or it's not really a festival. It's like a minor holiday. It's like it is very much like Groundhog Day. You wouldn't know that not being from here, but perhaps one of you individuals would. Some individuals have filtered into the tavern. I've sat down at the bar. You enter the bar, and there are quite a few people. There are probably at least a dozen people in here. A few sitting at the bar, having some raucous conversation. There are what appears to be like a family sitting at a table, like an old man and a couple of younger men sitting at another table, and the old man is going on about something. Like you can tell that the young men are just like, this is what we deal with. This is why do we put up with this guy? Like this old man is so full of it. But it appears like this is a like time-honored tradition that happens at least weekly. You do see a large gentleman behind the bar serving. You see a smaller woman scurrying about collecting mugs and serving. And as she passes by the larger gentleman behind the bar, you notice that he like sweeps out an arm and gives her a peck on the cheek. And she just like she lights up and her cheeks go red. And she's like, I'm working. He says, I do not own a tavern and run a business such that I cannot kiss my wife every now and then. And she goes, oh, you, and she like slugs him in the chest, but she's like the size difference, like he's a tavern owner, like this guy eats well. And she like slugs him on the chest a little, but it's just like, what harm could she do to him? Also at the bar is this large figure. There's a Goliath. You are familiar with Goliaths to some extent. You have seen Goliaths in your travels. Not here, but you've seen a Goliath before. You've seen giants before once or twice, or you've studied them at least. You've seen them in books. But this Goliathian, yeah, sure, figure is sitting at the bar, and among, a crowd of 15, 20 maybe. What would you like to do?
So I would like to approach Kosh and just begin a little bit of small talk about what just happened with his wife.
Oh.
Beginning with, if that's all right.
Yeah.
Like, well, I'm sure a hit like that on a lad like you would have not much effect. My good sir, you must be Kosh. I've heard all about you. Word of the meat and mead flows like a river through Melt. And I must tell you, my good friend Molly, and I'm sure you do know Molly. Molly did recommend that I do stop in here. I am very weary from the road, and I am in desperate need of a bed. It is way past my time of rest.
He chuckles out loud. He goes, oh, she's just wonderful, is what she is. And he says, Molly, huh? He says, it seems they're turning people away now. Did you hear that, Krista? Molly said this man. And Krista goes, oh, Molly. Like she like it's not even like a sentence. It's Molly mixed with like a bunch of noises afterwards. And she goes on about it. He goes, yes, we have room. Please, would you like a meal? We are still serving dinner. It is approaching the end of dinner time, but for room for the evening, including breakfast, is 5 copper pieces. Whatever I told.
4.
4 copper pieces. Maybe he tells you 5. Maybe he does. I don't know.
And he will happily pay it. That sounds like a treat. I would love some dinner, thank you.
Great. He goes, wonderful. It is. We're having mutton and potato soup tonight, and can I get you some bread to go with that? Would you like to?
Please.
Yes, wonderful. So he walks back to the kitchen, and there's a little bit of commotion as he grabs a plate and whatever, and he comes out and he serves it to you. He appears to be tending bar now, and he goes, would you like something to drink with that? He said, we have ale, we have mead, the famous 10th Muse meadery from Melt itself. We also have milk, water, some wine.
Now allow me to stop you right there. Approaching the city of Melt, you hear plenty of talk of the 10th Muse, and I must insist on a nice, hearty mug of ale, please. Thank you.
Absolutely. He goes, it's mead. And then he serves it anyway. He walks
A little chuckle.
And you see the big casks on the wall, and it's a big 10 with an M in it. or big M with a 10 in it, really. But you can see the 10th Muse symbol at the bottom of the map. But he pours you a mug, and it's a fairly large mug. And he sets it down, and he says it's a copper piece or whatever for 2. So if you want to refill, you can have one. And he gives you like a key, like it's a copper key. It's for a room. Ilikhal, you have also received a key for a room. It is they informed you of it's on the 2nd floor, 3rd on the left. As he hands it to you, he says, "Your room is 2nd floor, 3rd on the right." He said, "We will also be serving breakfast until mid-morning." Excuse me. And he says, like, "Happy Thaw." Like, it's kind of like a weird, like it's a gesture, but he just said it and like he's like offhandedly, "Oh, Happy Thaw as well."
And Alfonz did notice the phrase in the town square, and he does without hesitation, almost too charismatically. He does also repeat, "Happy Thaw to you as well, my good sir." And while I have you, the old man in the corner, he seems to have a big story to tell. Is that anything I should? You see, I find myself as a little bit of a Rhodes scholar, and is there is there anything worth pursuing there, my good sir?
Because over there, he goes, "Old Kurt? No, Jesus, Jesus. Arathis, no. Kurt's he's ancient and mostly full of hot air. It's a wonder he doesn't float up to the ceiling. He's just that's his nephew and his nephew's best friend. Once a week they come in, and he buys them dinner, and as penance, they have to sit through dinner with him. Kurt has lived a long time, did a stint with the army. He's had a lot of life experiences, but I don't believe half of the words that come out of his mouth. He's not much of a scholar either. I'm not certain I've seen him read more than once or twice."
Well, thank you. And I must advise that there is often a lesson to be learned in those old words, so do not judge a book by its cover. And he takes his meal and he moves towards the lively crowd by the bar.
Yeah. All right. Would you like to sit at a table, or would you like to sit at the bar? There
at the bar. He wants to be within earshot of as many conversations as possible.
Okay, you sit down.
He likes to cut in, if you noticed.
You sit down, and like 2 seats to your left is this Goliath. Just to the left of the Goliath is 2 younger men who appear to be arguing over whether or not the price of wool is worth the hassle of shearing the sheep, because they're just like, apparently they're like, it's one is like, "Yeah, but you gotta grab them by both legs, and it's just too much of a pain to do that. I'd rather raise cows or goats for the milk itself." Another one's like, you're insane. You're just doing it wrong." And there's just this argument over like wool. And behind you, sitting at a table for like 5 is a family of 4. It's a father and a mother and 2. One in the preteen era and one child, like maybe 5. They are like, the mother is trying to wrangle the children while the father is being very fatherly, in that he is just allowing the mother to deal with it, and he is just kind of enjoying his drink. Looks like he's very tanned, perhaps like he's been outside a lot. Maybe he's a farmer. And the like mother is like trying so hard to get the preteen to the like 10, 11-ish year old to like eat dinner, and trying to get the child, the 4, 5, 6-year-old, to not throw dinner, and just a little flustered. And in the back, you can hear old Kurt. "And that is how, in one night, We stormed the entire stronghold and eliminated the entire orc tribe. And like you kind of like look over your shoulder, and like he is like leaned back into the booth a little bit, and like he sits back up kind of hard and like sloshes his drink a little bit, and the nephew and the nephew's best friend are just like, yep, it is. That is exactly what happened. Mm-hmm. All 5 of you, entire orc tribe. Mm-hmm. Yes. Thanks, Uncle. You kind of look at each other. They're probably 15, 16. They're like just approaching. They're like right at working age. And perhaps Kurt has had a few too many already. And Krista's serving and doing everything she can. She's getting refills and all of that. Other than that, a couple of the performers come in to get a meal not from Grana Kendra, although Grana Kendra is probably cooking tonight. And the patriarch of the troop, who is doing all the announcing, actually comes in, and he has a lute, and he asks. He walks over to Kosh, and like Kosh like goes to the end of the bar by the door, and asks if it would be okay if he performed that evening, if he performed in the bar, if he did a few songs. And Kosh says, absolutely. Feel free. This, it is not every day that we get a bard, someone to actually perform. And Kosh allows him. Dart walks over to like the fireplace, and he kind of posts up on a stool, and he starts to tune his lute. And you're enjoying your dinner. We're going to cut outside to Pilot. As you leave the temple, the sun has started to set. The crowds have dispersed. It appears that across the square, the tavern is starting to the tavern and inn is starting to take a lot of activity. You hear a crowd. You hear like muffled crowd noise coming from inside. Everyone else appears to have gone to their homes. What would you like to do? How are you going to begin to wrap up your night?
I'm just gonna sit there quietly, just collecting the aroma of the room and just like eating my food and finishing off my first glass of ale or mead.
Okay.
Mead.
And Pilot, from outside, what do you like?
Which rooftop is higher, the Ranger's Hall or the Meats and Mead?
The Meat and Mead is 3 stories tall, perhaps with an attic. The Ranger's Rest across appears to only be 2 stories tall, perhaps with an attic. So the Meat and Mead is definitely taller.
Windows on the top? I'm looking at the map right now.
On top of the Meat and Mead?
Yeah.
Those are chimneys.
Okay. Can I scale the a lesser seen part of the Meat and Mead and hide between the chimneys?
Yes,
and
perhaps.
And I just kind of want to loosely listen in on the people's talks and shenanigans.
If you approach the side across from the entrance, I guess on the map is the right side. There's a large fireplace there. It is made out of stone. It is like a bunch of stones, and it does kind of taper. You can fairly easily climb that. I will ask that you make an athletics or acrobatics check, whichever you choose, however you choose to scale it.
I will choose acrobatics. I have proficiency in that.
Okay, go for it.
That would be a 16.
Easily. It's not necessarily like very like perfectly mortared stone. It's not a smooth surface at all. They're almost like rock climbing handholds. You approach it's not the back of the tavern, it is the side of the tavern, and you scale this fireplace quite easily. It's approaching dark. As you scale the fireplace, you notice behind you there is what appears to be a hot spring. It looks fairly shallow, but perhaps there are a few like plants and things around it. But it perhaps looks like a place where the public might come and they might bathe or something. You notice like a discarded sock nearby. You climb the top of the tavern and you nestle yourself in between one of the individual rooms' chimneys and the chimney for what appears to be, based on the sounds coming up, the main common room. And you hear the tuning of a lute. Ding, 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 ding. And a male voice say, I wrote this song for a woman who does the most and means the least. And he starts to sing, and he sings, I hope that our few remaining friends give up on trying to save us. I hope we come out with a fail-safe plot to piss off the dumb few that forgave us. I hope the fences we mended fall down beneath their own weight. And I hope that we hang on past the last turn. I hope it's already too late. And I hope the barnyard a few blocks from here someday burns down, and I hope the rising black smoke carries me far away, and I never come back to this town again in my life. I hope I lie and tell everyone you were a good wife, and I hope you die. I hope we both die. And just there's this song that keeps going on, and it sounds like he hates this woman. And it just keeps going and going, and you get a sense of humor. It's funny. Those of you sitting at the bar are like, "Oh my god, why would you do this?" And it says, and like you hear into like the last like verse comes in. It's, I hope when you think of me years down the line, you can't find one good thing to say. And I hope that if I found the strength to walk out, you'd stay the hell out of my way. I'm drowning. There is no sign of land. You are coming down with me, hand in unlovable hand. And I hope you die. I hope we both die. And it just kind of fades into this, and like there's this stunned like air of the crowd, like they're like, what the heck? And Dart's wife is sitting there at the bar, and she just breaks out in the most enthusiastic applause and cheers, and the rest of the bar room, potentially Alfonz and Ilikhal as well, just like raucous applause. It's amazing. He performed so well. The lute was great. It was this like there was this jam section where he really laid into it on a lute solo, and he stands up and he takes a bow and he walks over to his wife and he kisses her. You of course don't see this on the roof, but those of you in the bar room do. He kisses her so deeply and so passionately. And they break apart, and she flushes a little red. He flushes a little red, and he goes into more of a common folk song for the Northern Reaches, and everyone starts to pick it up together. but it's very odd. He seemed like he didn't like her at all based on the way that song was written, but she was the first one to applaud. Very strange.
Ilikhal loved it.
Wonderful. Ilikhal is, yeah, do it again. Trash her some more. Good job. Proud of you. But he does a few more performances. There's this like somber, sad ballad about a sailor who's lost his love and dreams that she passes away, and he knows that dream to be true, and her ghost visits him in his sleep, and he wakes up to hear the call of all hands on deck in the morning, and he knows that his love is past. He sings another song about a bard who once angered the wrong count and ended up sleeping in pigsties for the rest of his life, and ended up dying of starvation, which is like, it's really funny but like really grim humor. And he finishes with this like the ballad of the first Storm King, and it's this powerful storytelling of the first Storm King and how he rose, or he descended from the clouds themselves and was able to channel the power of the storms and save all of the Northern Reaches by doing so. And that is why he was dubbed king by the people, but also apparently by the gods themselves in the power that he was able to wield. And like, everyone has heard that song, but it's very difficult to perform. Like, you have to be a very good bard, and so everyone, major applause. And it has gotten dark, and it is about the time to turn in, should you choose to.
Ilikhal gave him a standing ovation, by the way.
Standing ovation, definitely noticed. Tallest person in the bar.
I think. Sorry, Alfonz just steps outside just to spark his pipe for a couple of for a quick smoke before.
Would you like to step out front into the square, or would you like to step out back into the kind of like working area? There's a stable. It's kind of like it's not a backyard. There's like a tree, but it seems to be a little bit more like there's a cider press and stuff back there. It's a little quieter out back.
No, let's go out front.
Okay, step out front, just outside. The old man Kurt is also trying to do the same thing, but he's having a lot of trouble lighting his pipe. He's lit a match. He's trying to light the pipe, and like, he is bleary eyed. Perhaps drank more tonight than usual for some reason, but he is like a little like, wow, like trying real hard to light his pipe.
I strike one of my matches and light his pipe for him, and just lean over and say, "Looks like somebody was in good company this evening."
My good sir. He says, my nephew. Yeah, thank you so much for the light too. The boys, they're too kind. I'm just trying to have them grow up to be real men, you know. And what about you, stranger? You seem to be new in town. Any reason why you've come to Melt? Takes a puff off his pipe.
Just another stop on the road, I'm afraid. Looking to collect as much information as possible. And I did inquire about you, if I may be so frank. I believe it was Kurt.
Oh yeah, Kurt.
It sounds like you've lived a very, very eventful life, and I commend you for your years of service.
Yeah, he takes the vibe. He goes, yeah. Oh, well, you don't live to be an old man without a few stories, you know. And he said, and trust me, Sonny, I'm old. He might be 65. Like, he's not like he's not ancient. He maybe 70. He looks like
I think he's got a few years on me, so I just kind of chuckled to myself, and
he's like, yeah, and you spend a few years in the service of the king, and boy, did they make you walk places. Let me tell you. You gotta have your own horse if you want to be in the king's army. Yeah.
A horse, you say? Do Do you happen to still be in possession of that horse?
Oh, he goes, oh no, that horse died years ago. He goes, I walk it right now. He's like, I live. He's like, he like gestures in the vague direction of what appear to be like some like a set of homes, like just over like across the street almost. He's like, I live behind the Ranger's Rust. He said, mostly I do what I can with a little bit of trading, and I keep my stipend from the army and trying to just enjoy life in my twilight years. Wow. And like he kind of like he leans into the like the bar wall a little bit and he's smoking his pipe, but he's not like doing a great job at it. Like it's like he keeps forgetting that the pipe is lit, and he'll go, oh, like he'll like take a puff of it and blow it out, and yeah. But you enjoy your smoke. He tells you a story about one time it rained for 3 weeks straight while he was in the service, and they were just patrolling the Kingswood, apparently for this like monster, this giant bush, this monster in the night kind of thing, and they never found it, but they swear they heard it once or twice, and they gave chase but never encountered it, and just this terrible time of just being wet and cold and angry that they were out and getting, like he said, there was this moment where he got stuck in the mud up over his boots, and it poured in, and as he lifted his foot to unstick it from the mud, his shoe came out of the boot, but the boot stuck, and he had to like sink his foot down into the mud and bend over with both, like bend completely over and grab the boot with both hands to suck it out of the mud. But it's this big yarn of this whole misadventure, if you will, where nothing actually took place.
So I shouldn't be writing anything down. Noted. Okay,
it was very much
I just
this like big fish story of
right
chasing this monster that was supposed to be there, but they never saw it, but they heard noises, and the Kingswood is so big, and just rain and wet and cold, and
well, I think I inflate his ego a little bit, thank him for the story, finish my take a last couple pulls off of the pipe, and head back indoors, as I have confirmed for myself that Kurt is useless, and I will leave it at that.
Yeah, he does enjoy the inflated ego. He stumbles off towards another, like he leaves the square. He's gonna make it home, but he might fall asleep like on a chair in the living room instead of making it all the way to the bed, or he might wake up fully clothed tomorrow instead of like disrobing before laying down. He looks like he's gonna be okay. You head inside. Do you go to your room?
I push Coach for a refill on my mead before I head up.
Okay. He says, "Oh, a nightcap," and he says, "You feel free to take it to the room if you would like. You don't have to stay down here while we clean up." It appears like a lot of people have begun dispersing as you were talking to Kurt. People filtered out. The family with the mom and the kids. She did apparently manage to get the eldest to eat, and she did apparently manage to get the youngest to not get food everywhere. But as they're like walking by, you notice like a little bit of potato soup in the youngest one's hair. That the mother did not. Kosh refills your mead. While all this is taking place, Ilikhal, how are you wrapping up your tavern evening?
I'm just finishing up my mead, and then I get up to head to my room.
Okay, you do that. You go to the second floor, third room on the left, third of four. It's a fine room. It's not bad. It's not great. It's a room. It's a bed. It is like bound straw. It is better than sleeping on the ground. It's better than sleeping on a bedroll. It's warm. There is a fireplace. You can like disrobe and get a place to like dry your clothes for the evening. It's a place to put your stuff down. The bed laying diagonally, you can be comfortable.
I kind of
It
like
is
curl
human
my
size.
legs up a little bit.
Yeah, it is sufficient. We will say. And you drift off to a really peaceful sleep. It is nice to be inside. While you are used to the weather and the elements, in your time amongst more humans away from your tribe, you've understood that comfort of like staying in an inn, and you kind of get it. Like you're like, yeah, this is better than a tent in the ground to some extent. I can understand that. Maybe one day I'll build a log cabin, but not today. Got work to do, and you drift off to sleep. Alfonz, do you take your meat upstairs, or do you finish it at the bar and then head up?
Yeah, I finish it at the bar. I inquire about like if there was any word from Nicholas. Assuming there was none, if there is none, I'll head upstairs.
There is no news from Nicholas.
Not the first time I'm going to be bringing that up.
Not at all. He has not said anything. You've not received a note from beyond the grave, but you are not aware of that.
All right. All right, so I'll head upstairs.
You head upstairs, second floor, third room on the right. As you approach your door, as you're unlocking the door, you hear deep snoring coming from across the hall, just through the door, just muffled by the door, just enough to get through. And you close the door. It is a quaint room. It's fine. It's going to be perfectly suited. It's a bed. Oh man, you haven't had a bed in a hot minute, and that's going to be really nice.
No, Alfonz is very excited about this. It has been a long time coming. There
is a fireplace as well, a small fireplace with a little bit of wood, and you can light that with a cantrip or with some of the fire starter that's right there. You can have a warm night with a fire, with a bed, with a pillow. Oh my God, a pillow! What luxury compared to what you have been in recently. Nothing compared to your bed back home, but a bed is a bed at the end of the day.
Absolutely. So yeah, I'll use the fire starter at risk of injuring myself. Start a fire and then just collapse in the bed.
And sleep takes you within moments. The mixture of the mead and the warmth and the exhaustion and the nice bath you had today and the tension kind of bleeding out, you almost fell asleep in the bath. And you dream of rain and woods and this monster in the night that you're chasing after, but you can't quite find it. Pilot.
Yes.
You have different needs.
Yeah.
How do you, as the tavern quiets down, you notice smoke start to come up from the other chimneys, the other smaller chimneys along the roof.
Mm-hmm.
Night has completely taken over. You hear some of the sounds of night. You hear bugs and bats and other creatures of the night. You hear a howl. One lonely howl from quite a distance away, way out of town, but one.
Mm-hmm.
How do you approach the ending of a day, and what do you do?
Would I know where someone could find wax or some kind of oil? Would it be by the tannery?
Perhaps the general store may keep beeswax or oil. Definitely would keep some form of oil, lantern oil, or other things. The general store probably your best bet.
Would they still be open at this time?
You look down. It's just across the street from you, right next to in the square. It maybe there are a few lanterns actually lit around town as well. There's a lantern outside the front of the Mead and Mead. There's a lantern outside of the temple. There's a fancy house directly across the square from you, which appears to have like 2 fancy lanterns out front. Maybe they're open. There's definitely, like, it looks like someone lives there as well as works. So there's definitely someone there. But as far as like business, maybe not.
I would like to check, please.
You climb off the roof. You've managed to do that. You walk across the street. There are a few windows. You peek in a window in the back, and you notice that there is just like a middle-aged man and woman, kind of settling down at a table. They appear to be finishing a meal, and they're just chatting about something. It doesn't look like they're out front in like the shop. They're in the back in the like living space, looking like they're settling down for the night. The gentleman, he has a bottle of some sort, and he appears to be pouring a glass, like a nightcap, for both of them.
But the front of the store is pretty much closed.
The front of the store is not only, it is dark from what you can see, like walking around. There's just a lantern lit outside, and then the store front, the store, from what you can see looking in like the windows and stuff, is dark.
Am I able to make out any kind of supplies that I am looking for? Like,
through the windows you can see, I mean, the sign says general goods. I mean, you can see rope, you can see like canisters are like glass vials of things, perhaps some like dry goods. There's a lot of stuff in here. Potentially what you might need for like your general upkeep is inside of this store. This would be, based on your understanding, yeah, this would be the kind of place.
decide to wait until morning to get the supplies then that I'm not gonna break in.
Okay.
Um,
Continue.
and I would like to make sure my face is fairly well covered.
Okay.
Go back on top of the roof and then make sure my joints are still working properly in between the chimneys, and I settle and rest.
Okay, you climb back on top of the roof. You check in the reflection of the glass. Your face is adequately covered. The face covering you're using, an old piece of a cloak or something, is covering you. With your hood up, you look like a weary stranger that is just trying to keep the dust out of their mouth, honestly. And you climb up on top of the roof again. You nestle in between the large chimney and the smaller chimney, and it's fine. You don't need comfort like most do, and you settle in for your rest, whatever rest you have.